Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. See, make sure this is working here, and it is. Okay. Um, Welcome, everyone, to our weekly Q&A event, and this time around, go ahead as you're chatting in here. Go ahead and chat in. Introduce yourself, and of course, and where you're chatting in from, just so we can get a sense of the community here as you're coming in. It's interesting. In times when things are uncertain, there's a this kind of natural trigger that happens at the base of our brain, and it triggers our stress response. You might have noticed it, and you might continually be noticing it. So let's hear. We're getting people in from Sacramento, and someone says end of April finally, and we're getting in people from Houston and Seattle and Long Island, Riverside and Georgia and Florida, and I'm sure as other people come in, typically we get people from all over the world here, and Santa Rosa and beautiful, and then in our backyard, Los Angeles. Welcome, Alice. Portland, Oregon, and Western Canada, and so the East Coast and the West Coast, the United States, Mexico City, and so many beautiful places. East Coast, Washington. Welcome, Susan. Paul from San Diego. Yeah, beautiful. San Jose, Grace, welcome, and Michigan. Okay, so welcome, everyone. I noticed this morning, I was checking in on the status of the world. It's almost like we live in this really interesting time where, there's some things that are coming out that are really good news, it seems like, and other things that lay this grim picture, and so it's hard to know what is up and what is down, and what that does is it spikes some uncertainty in us. And like I was saying a moment ago, if you're just popping on, that might be something you've been noticing lately. And uncertainty from an evolutionary perspective is something that just spikes our anxiety. We don't like to know. We don't like to not know what's around the corner. And the reason is because we just have to feel safe. That's just about a survival. It's a survival instinct. We just have to feel that way. And so things are still tough for a lot of people right now, and will continue to be that way. And many parts of the country we're noticing right now in the United States, and a variety of you are coming in from different areas, Switzerland and other areas of Canada, and other areas of the UK, and from Wales and North Yorkshire, and other areas. You have your own realities that you're dealing with around this, but we're all kind of in a similar-ish type of boat, with it. But we hear here that social distancing will be, easing soon, and that, warmer weather is coming, and people are just feeling like they want to kind of get out and be out. Things must be getting better because, the warmer weather is here, and I'm feeling freer, and we're hearing of, like maybe schools will be opening, like later on. And yet at the same time, you see like people are hoarding cash more than ever before. And the stock market now is kind of starting to slide down. And, so it's almost like, who knows? And how do we hold this with a sense of equanimity and balance? How do we do that step by step by step? I live a couple miles from the beach in Los Angeles, and I used to have this single speed beach cruiser. And in order for me to get to the beach, I had to go. I had to cross over this pretty busy street, then go up a hill and then down a hill. And if you've ever ridden a single speed beach cruiser, to go up a hill, that's a tall task because there's nothing that's going to help you up that hill. And I used to go up that hill and I'd be like, oh God, it's so hard, this is so hard, this is so hard. And I'd have to get off in the middle of the hill and just kind of walk my bike up. And then I asked myself, I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I like applied some mindfulness to this experience. This might sound a little crazy, but I decided that I would just really take it one pedal at a time, one pedal at a time. And so I crossed that busy street. I got out and I got a little momentum going there. And I just said, like, one, 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 one. And within a short period of time, it felt like I was at the top of the hill and I did it. It wasn't as hard as it seemed. What was different about that? There's a discussion of the two arrows. The first arrow, that we shoot at ourselves is like the pain. That's like the hardness on my muscles going up that hill. And the second arrow is how much is the way we relate to the pain. And right now, while there's this uncertainty that's going on, and that can make it harder or easier, what's going to support us in finding our power to feel stronger and more grounded, to feel like we're walking with our chest like slightly higher instead of hunched over. We'll mention a little bit of that, in a moment. And so what's going to help us really find our power? So right now, as I'm sharing it, you can see that I'm sharing this. I'm going to share some facts. I share some stories because I think that makes it relatable and relevant, things that I know, like from my own life or from other people's lives. So you're going to kind of hear and see and hopefully feel a little bit about how we can uncover our power in this session that we're going to have here. I mean, by the way, we're attempting to put these on weekly, and we've been doing them for a while now. So you can always look to past sessions that we have had on different topics, and we organized a lot of them in the Mindful Living Collective. And so okay, I'm just going to say a few facts just to set us up. The first fact is that, I guess it relates back to a moment ago what I just talked about, how uncertainty is a primal need. I mean, certainty is a primal need that we all have, and our brain's always looking for it constantly. And when there's uncertainty, it rattles us, and it leads to a stress response. And so, just the one thing that I'll add to that is that when it comes to the stress response, if we have prolonged stress over time and we're not relating to it regularly, creating some form of mental fitness, that wasn't meant to be like we're crazy. Creating some form of mental fitness here, then we're going to create a surge in stress, much like the surge in the virus. We're going to create a surge in stress that can kick us back to roads that were more traveled in the past, mentally, meaning like if you've struggled with anxiety in the past or depression in the past, or you've had kind of trauma in the past, it could kind of reignite some of that stuff. So we really want to stay ahead of it and use our supports to become more empowered through this time, just to kind of for your own self, and then have ripple effects across the people that you care about. The second thing is that it actually has an impact physiologically on us. We know that stress creates cellular inflammation. We know that stress suppresses our immune system. We know that it does this type of stuff. And so it's really good, again, to create, more important than maybe ever, through this time right now. I mean, even after there's a little bit of social distancing happening, there's going to be other ripple effects, from this. And so we want to remain more empowered and steady through that time. So, the question is like, how do we really do that? And so I wanted to share like that today. I mentioned, in the writing, that at the epicenter of feeling steady and grounded and well is a sense of feeling connected. And we know this by nature, by the way. Just think about it, or just think about it when we're thinking about like physics. If you're falling and there's a connected web underneath you, you're going to be held and supportive. So you're not so scared necessarily about like walking at higher distances if there's a web, a really strong web underneath you. If there's no web, or it's kind of loose or disconnected, and that's the feeling that you have, you're going to feel, there's going to be an increase in fear, an increase in stress. So we know that connection's the epicenter of well-being. And I want to share with you one thing that I've shared in a past event before, but I think is an important one. In 2000, 2006, I published a national research study in the Journal of Clinical Psychology. And what that was that had people basically do a short mindfulness practice for 5 minutes a day for 5 days a week for 3 weeks. And then, after that, they were asked to kind of reflect on it. And what I found was just, short practices like that can have statistically significant results in stress reduction and applications to you feeling more well. So we found that, but that kind of research was always less interesting to me because the numbers, a lot of people find like really positive numbers, around things. And that was at the time when mindfulness was just starting to come out, and in the research, 2000, 2002, 2006, we were seeing like a variety of studies coming out, on it, mainly around mindfulness-based stress reduction at the time. And what was more interesting to me, and what I really wanted to challenge myself to do, was do a qualitative study on it. So here's where you see maybe people like Brene Brown, coming out, where she's done, a lot of qualitative research around vulnerability and shame and beautiful work on that. And so this was a qualitative study like that, but it was in combination with the quantitative. And what I found was at the epicenter, and this may or may not be surprising to many of you, but at the epicenter of people who were correlated with this, the quantitative results, meaning the numbers around psychological well-being and stress reduction, their experience, which is done by the qualitative research, was that they felt more connected. So what we want to do, that's a little insight into us, that what we want to do during difficult times is really shore up quality connections. And you might say, well, yeah, but we're social distancing and we're doing all this stuff. And, and a lot of people say, well, I'm actually feeling more connected than before because I'm doing all the Zoom things with my family and other people. And yet other people feel very isolated and alone. But we just want to take a seed from this and understand that at the foundation of this is our need to feel more connected. But there's a qualitative level of connection that's going to be more nutritious to you than the Facebookish type of stuff. Even though, thank you, Facebook, for providing this platform so we can connect with each other in this way. And so, one thing I wanted to note just a little bit, so you're aware of a little bit of the science around this, is that when it comes to connection, some things are just kind of interesting. Like, some research has found that when you're not feeling that socially connected, when you're the quality of the social connection is worse. Some of that is shown that physiologically that's more painful and more detrimental to us than maybe smoking or obesity or high blood pressure. Like, at the foundation, we are social beings, even introverted, extroverted, whatever it is. We need that, and it has a physiological correlate to us around our health and well-being. Higher social connection, has been found to not only increase our level of psychological well-being, but also our sense of resiliency. And that was a study that was done by Barbara Fredrickson, or some of you might be familiar with, the University of North Carolina, and also, other types of social connection. Just even envisioning, like with a loving kindness type meditation. Another study done by Barbara Fredrickson, with repeated loving kindness meditations, even journaling those meditations, by the way, not just even envisioning them, we saw that there was a correlation between that and positive emotion and higher vagal tone, which is the 10th cranial nerve that connects our brain to our heart, which when our vagal tone is high, we tend to feel better. When it's low, we tend to not feel as well. So there's a reality behind social connection. Also, when you put yourself in environments where people are supportive to your good moments, you get an extra boost of well-being, at least per, a number of studies that show you get an extra boost per well-being. But you have to find those spaces and put yourself in them, and that's a really important part of that. Let me just see if anybody's saying anything right here. Okay, wonderful. Just different people continue coming in from different parts of the world. That's so great. So I just really want to put that at the epicenter. So I wanted to share some science with you around that. I wanted to share, some the reality around that. I wanted to share a little bit of my personal experience around that, um, and my, some of my own studies that I've done, around that. And in my experience, one of the ways that I have found in this online space to increase social connection, and you can do this on your own. By the way, it just practicing being with yourself in a with some kind of mindfulness meditation, as an example, does give you some form of connection. Also, just with yourself, you experience connection with yourself in doing that. So I want to encourage you. We just finished a 10-day meditation challenge in the Mindful Living Collective, and and that always kind of motivates everyone, to get together. We give away prizes. It's really fun. And what happened in the comments that I'm seeing from people in there is that there's this increased level of like feeling good. Why is that? There's this increased level of feeling good when we're practicing regularly in some way. Again, I'm not saying like, oh, but you better put on a 30-minute meditation every day. But I am saying like, there's a way to spend time with yourself. By the way, journaling is another way of doing that. Journaling in a quiet space with yourself is another way of connecting to yourself. It doesn't have to be that's a different just form of meditation. That's all, that's all that is. But there is something about practicing with yourself that can be really supportive. And give you those. Another one that's more relational, let me say, is if you have another person who's willing to spend time with you, 15 minutes, something like that, right? And you both basically take the first minute or two. This would have to be someone who's kind of on this is open to this and on this wavelength, to do this. And you said to them, let's just kind of pause for a second. Let's take a moment to both center ourselves. And you just kind of sat with them. You could do this over Zoom, by the way. And you sat with them and you paused and you relaxed your body. And you just took a moment to connect with your heart. Because we're trying to come down from our thinking head, right? And come into our bodies. And our brain associates our heart with like caring and authenticity. And so we kind of do that. And then you open your eyes. And then one of you begins and you just share what needs to be shared. Maybe you give each other 4 or 5 minutes. That's it. The other person just listens. Just take a minute to share what needs to be shared. That's it. What's different about that than the usual stream of communication that's happening at a more surface level is the quality of connection is deeper, stronger, and gives you more nutrition. Not to say you always have to be this way with everyone. There's something about just being on the surface and joking and that kind of stuff, and it's all fantastic, has its own benefits. I'm just saying, short period of window in the day, find somebody who's on this wavelength, who's a friend, or if you don't know those people, then certainly you can find them in the Mindful Living Collective. Again, that's a space that we open up for free to everyone in response to this pandemic. And it's kind of curating and gathering the mindfulness community into one space. I kind of think of it as like an incubator for wellness in some way, where you come, you get your cup filled up by connection and education and learning and play and entertainment and stuff like that. And then you can kind of ripple it out, to after that. But find somebody, drop in, do that little centering, go to them, share what needs to be shared, just put a timer on 5 minutes. The other person just gets to listen. Why do they just get to listen? Because there's a power to just spending time listening. You don't need to interrupt. It doesn't have to be that regular flow. You're actually connecting just on a different level than normal day to day. So you're just sharing what needs to be shared. Maybe it's like, this is what's happening for me lately, and I'm so confused, and I'm just kind of riddled with this uncertainty. I'm actually noticing like that I'm noticing all the flowers around. I'm feeling really great about that. And I'm also thinking about my a family member who's ill right now, and that brings up some sadness. And I've been noticing that in my day lately. Like whatever it is, just share what needs to be shared. You get a certain amount of time dedicated to you, And then the other person gets that time dedicated to them. And then afterwards, just reflect. Say, what was it? What was it about that interaction that we just had, you and me, that was meaningful, or that felt supportive, or it was inspiring? Was it something the other person had said? Was it something that you had said in that moment? This is a certain process, something that we've kind of developed in the collective. We do this in things called mindful living circles. Every day we have one of these, except this time you're in a group of 4 people instead of 2, but you can do this on your own with somebody. We just have it set and moderated and structured in there. But do that reflection piece with each other. And you can just each take a little time, just say, okay, well, here's what happened for me. And then end it with just a kind of a closing, come into your body, and then choose to kind of just say, hey, see you later. Thank you. Thank you that was great. Let's do this again in a few days or something like that. The quality, what I'm saying to you is the nutrients in that connective experience is going to feed you on a deeper level than your everyday connections. So I want to challenge you to take this structure and bring it into into like a relationship you might have with someone. Say, hey, let's just try this out and see what happens. Just kind of see what we notice, kind of be curious, right? That's the mindful, the attitude is that what my definition of mindfulness has always been, intentionally paying attention to something with an engaged curiosity. Because I always thought an engaged curiosity implicitly means non-judgmental awareness. Non-judgmental awareness is a little confusing for a lot of people. But if you say an engaged curiosity, it's very engaged, then we can bring that into the relationship. So this is like an embedded mindful relational experience. And it's going to be richer in a very small amount of time. If anyone here on this chat has been to any of the mindful living circles, you're welcome to comment here and just say, is this something that you noticed? Did you notice that, the relational experience was richer, more nutritious for you? And so just to kind of say, I notice it in myself when I've been in this type of relational experience with someone. So I wanted to give you that as a gift, that structure. We've kind of created this structure. And I wanted to give it to you to bring into an individual relationship you might have. And again, if you don't have an individual relationship that you think someone in my life might be willing to do something like this for, just to kind of, again, what are we talking about here? 4 minutes each, a couple reflection period on the other side. We're talking about maybe you're taking 20 minutes out of your day to do this. And that's going to be plenty of time for 2 people, then find them in the collective. There's plenty of people there, who are into it. and because they want to, everyone who's joining that space wants to integrate more mindful living, and they want to feel well. And there's probably a lot of value aligned people in there for you and that kind of thing. So, but you can pick someone in your life and just do that, in that way. Okay, so that was one thing that I wanted to give you to feel more empowered, because I promise you, if you shore up that experience of connection that's there, and your brain recognizes and takes in and integrates the experience of connection, you're going to feel stronger. In that way, you're going to feel more empowered, because connection's at the epicenter of our brain's perception of stability and happiness and well-being and stress reduction. All of it. And so there that is. The other thing I just wanted to kind of share with you, while we're on the topic of empowerment, is something that comes out of Amy Cuddy's, research, that some of you might be familiar with her, and which is really about how you're holding your body, and just to be aware of that. Just consider for a second, how, because I've noticed this in my kids, I noticed it myself, I noticed this, more as I'm looking around and I see people walking around, in this day and age, that how you're actually holding your body. Consider, if you're feeling well and confident and empowered, what would the positioning of your body look like? Go ahead and I just see if anyone, has a thought on this. Go ahead and chat that in if you can. If you were feeling well, empowered, and confident, stress was like relieved out of your body. How would you hold your body? What would your shoulders look like? What would your chest look like? Where would your arms be? That kind of thing. How would you feel? Let's see if anyone has any thoughts on that. Let's see. Monica said, I really suggest the circles. Really, it is more than talking to your friends, because my friends, it doesn't do it for me either. Right. Okay. Shoulders not up to the ears, Catherine says, right? You have to find ones that are willing to go beyond the surface with you. Yeah, right. And that's why I'm suggesting finding them in there. Head held high, chest out. So the chest out, by the way, chest out just basically means like chest slightly lifted, just really kind of slightly lifted. Shoulders back, chest slightly lifted, right? Sitting upright, open, relaxed, grounded, right? Upright, relaxed arms, open chest, soft. Mary says, and Sue said that. Diana says straight posture, shoulders relaxed. Richard says upright, light on your feet, chest out, expansive and tall, upright, strong and relaxed. Holly said upright, relaxed, standing straighter with head lifted, not bent over. Right. Patricia said shoulders back and relaxed. Monica said I would be with my back straight, open chest. Christina says no tension or tightness, quiet mind. Okay, so that's not physical exactly, but that the no tension or tightness is chin up, chest open, heart open, heart open. I love that idea, right? I once held so much stress from my shoulders, literally curled in towards my chest, right? Straight back, upright, shoulders back, head up, looking forward, confident. How do you find the circle? If you're in the collective, mindfullivingcollective.com, just go under events. There's a circle every day. Chin tucked. Wendy said open, breathing easily. Deanne said jaw relaxed, body position, body straight. See how there's so much wisdom here, by the way? Shell said hands open, not clenched. Hope to see you, Kripalu. I hope that's open, this fall for that event we have this in the fall. We'll see. Debbie, eyes forward, direct gaze, gentle smile, Anne said. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, so there's so much wisdom in here. Everyone, how your body feels. So here's my challenge to you today, no matter what time zone you're in, today and tomorrow. Just ask yourself again, how would I be moving and positioning my body, whether I was sitting or standing, if I was feeling confident, empowered, relaxed, and just practice just holding your body in that way, just for a minute at a time, something like that. If you're walking, practice walking like that for a minute. If you're sitting, practice sitting like that for a minute. And just do that a few times a day, because your body is sending your brain signals, as well. And your brain I'll just say, like, your brain sends your body signals. Your brain, it's hard to even say that, because your brain is actually in your head and wraps down, the nervous system wraps down your spinal cord and throughout your arms and legs. So it's hard to even differentiate that. But you have these kind of like feedback loop signals that are kind of going back and forth here. And if you hold your body in a particular way, it also sends a signal up here. My favorite cartoons was this Peanuts cartoon where it said there was, I think it was either Lucy. Some of you might remember this one, Lucy, or it was Snoopy. I can't remember. It said, if you're really depressed, you really have to hold your body like this. You really have to hold it like this. And so we're kind of practicing the opposite. So that's just a couple tips I wanted to kind of bring to you. One, in how, not just what to do with connection, but how, a process that you can do with another person, or you can just join the Mindful Living circles, and we do those every day. But you can also do it with someone outside of this, process, to begin to connect with someone in a more nutritious level. And again, not that you need to do it that way the whole day, but just like, let me take a segment of time. Like, really, it's like a meditation almost, except it's relational. That's all. And we're all about, one of the flags I've been, holding up for a while, and will continue to do so, is the flag of the importance around connection and relationships as something that's, really part at the epicenter, really, of our health and well-being, and mindfulness helps facilitate that. And so there's that. Okay. I also wanted to open this up for a little questions that you might have, around this, or around anything. So I'm noticing some things coming in, and then I just want to see. Let's see. okay. Barbara said, what you're suggesting is part of how we need to reinvent our world as we move through the pandemic. Imagine if that quality of connection were the norm, or at least if it was more often, How beautiful. And so let's help train the world to do that. Let's start with ourselves, and then let's help train the world to do that. We totally can. And it starts with one person and two people and three people and four people and five people. And as people practice and repeat it, it becomes more natural, to them. And they can also bring it into their other relationships. And that's how we create these ripple effects. So beautiful. We can do it. We absolutely can. I'm just noticing, on this type. Okay. Paul, seems when I talk to friends, they do most of the talking where it is hard to interject, and I become angry with them. Right. Okay. So Paul, notice your expectations with those friends, for one thing. You can also reflect to them that you'd like to connect on a different level with them, or come, find people that are wanting to connect on that level, and, connect with them on that level and get fed by them in that way. So get fed with your other friends in the way that that you guys can relate, that they're wanting, or able to relate to at this time. You can always plant seeds of relating in a different way, but also there might be another success tribe, as we might call it, that you can find that wants to connect on that level, that feeds you on that level. Yes, and anonymity can be safer. That's right. Julie says, right. And so with the mindful living circles, it's all that way. Everything's confidential and anonymous. And although obviously that's not necessarily true, because for most people, their video is on. So you see their video and their name, but it's still within this kind of incubated space. The incident is a gift just waiting for you. No work. Thank you to the collective. Beautiful. John said, ML circles have been a really calming, grounding, centering experience for me. Really value that time. Agree that the mindful living circles are a lot more nutritious than my normal conversations. They are so fulfilling and help me connect with others and myself at a deep level. There's less judgment in the circles. And Wendy said, it's amazing how deep it can go in just 4 minutes, and you can feel such a powerful connection with complete strangers. Said, I feel really anxious in the circles. I fear judgment and saying or doing the wrong thing. Yeah. And so then that's when we come back to our mindfulness practice. Because that's just happening with us. We notice the anxiety, and at the same time, then we're judging ourselves for it, and the perception is that other people are judging us for it. And we work with it, and then do it. And by the way, you can do this if you're doing it with a friend or within a circle. You can choose to turn your camera off, if that helps you take steps towards having that experience with a friend or within these circles. Either way. Paul, just talking to friends is not do it for me. Okay. Monica, I really suggest the circles. Kathy, and should, okay. So this is I was missing. Pilar said, yesterday I was at the circle and it was awesome. The connection that I felt. Beautiful. Yeah. Let's see. Cheryl Clark said, I learned to visualize angel wings on my scapula and balloons lifting my chest. I love that. So there's a suggestion for everyone when it comes to your body. If you want to play with that, visualize angel wings on your scapula and balloons lifting your chest. But just let the balloon lift it just like a quarter of an inch or something like that. Just something little, not a big lift where it feels forced and unnatural, but just a little bit, right? Nutritious. Lots. Nutrition isn't just food. Right. And humor can be very feeding, right? Let's see that are coming across. Let's see. Roger said, I long for a time I do not want to do anything, nothing. Then nothing gets done, finished. How can I get through this? Your statement of one petal at a time. That's a wonderful metaphor, to use that. Just one petal at a time. And it's just, again, that's just a metaphor for other things in our life. I want to get to this particular outcome. And one thing to do with, by the way, if you're looking to create outcomes in your life, which isn't a bad thing, it's a good thing to be aware of like outcomes that you want, and is to imagine how you might experience once you've accomplished it. Because another way of becoming empowered is by our emotions have a major impact on our brain's perceptions and decision making. So if you can imagine how it might feel to arrive at that outcome, whatever it might be, whatever you're wanting for yourself. You can imagine the celebration you'll be having in your mind about it when that day comes. And you can like almost taste it for a moment. Allow that emotion to come up and allow that then to motivate your next pedal. That makes sense? Allow that to motivate your next pedal, because your emotions are going to be drive our motivation. Emotions drive our motivation. Emotions are energy. They're energy in motion. So it's like it gives us energy to do something. It could be energy that's like, driving us down, or it could be energy that's driving us up. And so imagining that outcome, it's okay. Give yourself permission to do that. And see what happens. Let's see. Videos are, with circles, there's never a recording at all. Never recorded. See, and doing this through the mindful space, much less emotions. Okay. Christina says, what advice would you give to people working with single moms who are struggling to find time for self-care and connection because their days are so maxed out and overwhelmed and all the responsibilities on their plate? I work with families where one parent is incarcerated. Yeah, that's hard. Right. I'd give them permission to just for a period of time, to recognize how hard that is, and to recognize they're not alone in it. I've noticed a couple people writing lately that have been saying, I hate when people say we're all in this together, and just not to make the misconception that everyone is all in this together, but certainly there's a segment of people that are in this together, and you find that segment, and then that I'm not alone in this. Other people that are also going through this, but like right now, what is what is some way I can support myself, through this time? What's nutritious for me, and how do I feed myself? This. It's funny. When I was thinking, I remember when I was first creating the Mindfulness at Work program, and that was a program that that eMindful delivers, and then was exclusively delivered through Aetna. If you ever heard of the Aetna's mindfulness program, that was the Mindfulness at Work program. And one of the things I said within the program with them, I said, because most people at work say, I don't have time for anything. I don't have time for meditation. You joking? I mean, there's no time for any of that stuff. And I said, well, do you ever go to the bathroom? And so we built that into the program. Do you ever go to the bathroom? And so, a single mom, if you ever go to the bathroom, you might say, oh, it depends on the child. The child's crying, or the bathroom doesn't always work that way. And if that brings up like certain images in your mind, like an aversive type of image, then you can cast that one away. But yeah, where are the spaces in my day? Can I find time to just listen? Maybe listening, but get permission to recognize that that's really hard. Because I think when you recognize something sometimes, and you give yourself permission to recognize, what that is, you can begin to soften around it a little bit. It's more of the resistance of it that creates the challenge around it. That'd be really wonderful if there was, some way for the single moms to, connect, with each other, so they can really recognize they're not alone in that. And that would be beautiful. Yeah. I hope that's helpful. Karen recommends Anne Lamott, Bird by Bird. Beautiful. Yep, that's a beautiful one. Also, Debbie says, what are we nourishing ourselves with? What are we putting in our bodies that contribute to create healthy microbiomes? Yeah. So nutrition, food-based nutrition, and also sound nutrition and visual nutrition and relational nutrition. Consider all those areas and say, what is, how am I feeding myself? It's a good thing to consider, I think. I remember when this whole thing happened and the supermarkets were like bare. All the foods that I normally get, all of a sudden I was like, I'll just find what's available. And it also humbled me a little bit, because it reminded me of my privilege, that I have with just being able to buy things that I sort of want, and how most people around the world, they just take what they get. and that's, and to, the non-judgmental stance around that, is really important, and really understanding that, when there's scarcity, you even nutrition wise, like food wise, you have to take what you can. And but with that said, we can also just have an awareness of it, and so and support ourselves to try and make healthier choices, food wise, but also the nutrition of our eyes, our ears, our relationships. And imagine that. Imagine if you thought about the nutrition of your relationships, your relational experiences with people, but also your relationships in general. I know in my retreats, I talk a lot about, um, we talk a lot about kind of doing an inventory or social inventory of yourself. And there can still be room for ice cream. Yes, Karen, absolutely. Mindy says, how can I stay with my emotions when they keep cropping up? I sit with them, yet if I don't resolve the issue behind them, they do not stop. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a misnomer sometimes that comes in the mindfulness world, around like just letting things be, allowing them to be as they are, just being with them, just see if you can be with your emotions. And sometimes we have to recognize that our teacup is full. My dad's a rabbi and oftentimes tells a story of the Dalai Lama wanting to hear more about. If you ever read the book The Jew and the Lotus, there's the Dalai Lama, and the Jews came to the top. Some of the top rabbis came out to meet the Dalai Lama because the Dalai Lama wanted to hear about, hey, how did you guys survive in the diaspora for all this time? Because my people are now in the diaspora, and he wanted to learn about that. And the rabbis wanted to learn, like, hey, how come all the Jews are becoming Buddhists right now, or what's this real interest in Buddhism? And so they came together, and so the Dalai Lama said, hey, can you tell me about the Holocaust? I want to know more about that. And the rabbi got all excited because he was like with the Dalai Lama, and he wanted to share this, this what was such a personal experience for him. And he said, okay. So he started in on it and telling how it began and some personal stories around it. And then the Dalai Lama, after a period of time, was just like, he put his hand up and said, oh, just hold on a minute. He goes, well, what? Hold on. I've only just begun. There's just so much more. And he goes, yeah, and I want to hear it, but my teacup is full right now. My cup is full. I need to hear it later. It was so emotional for him. So there was so much to it that he needed to pause. And so it is, I think, with our mindfulness of emotions. Like, let's not confuse what's really important, which is the wisdom within ourselves of understanding what we're needing. Mindfulness can create the awareness. It's not just awareness of emotions. It's larger than that. It's awareness of my intention. I'm intentionally paying attention to this feeling with a sense of curiosity. But if it's overwhelming to me, maybe I'm needing something different right now. Maybe what I'm really needing is some soothing right now. Maybe I'm needing to talk with someone right now. Maybe I'm needing to go lay down and let the sunshine splash on my face right now. Maybe I'm not needing to just meditate on this emotion. I'll come back to it. But maybe I need to journal about this right now. Maybe that's what I'm really needing. And so to get in touch with what we're actually needing is sometimes even wiser, because mindfulness can create the microscope for that, and to create the clarity. And then we kind of start moving in that direction. That's, to me, what it's really about, is creating wisdom within ourselves to be able to be aware of what we're needing when, and then we walk around with greater balance. A metaphor I often give is like, we're making this soup and we're tasting the soup. How does the soup taste? What does it need? Does it need to be more even? What am I needing right now? I think that's it with the emotions. It's important to pay attention to that. You're not sometimes going to be able to resolve what it is. Maybe you're not, but you can resolve it in yourself by attending to something and attending to what you're needing. And if what you're needing is to continue to, and you have the ability to continue to be curious about and investigate and allow the feeling, the energy to appear and arise, and you have this warm, caring attention to it, and you're softening around it, and then you're noticing it coming, and what comes up in you is a sense of self-love, because you're finally paying attention to yourself that's been a part of you that's been cast out for so long. Then that's a beautiful outcome of that. So then we can hold that and just be with that, allow it to come and pass away. So it's not always about being with our emotions in that way. Sometimes it's more about like, what am I needing? But being with it can be really powerful if your teacup is not full already. Hope that's helpful. Gwen says, what about the shoulda versus coulds to empower oneself? Even with being in a circle, there are others who are not comfortable showing themselves, and that is okay. Yeah. Your job is just to listen in those few minutes. And whether you're doing this again in a circle or with somebody else outside the circle, you're what you're getting, that there's a value in just listening and noticing your judgments, that might be there, but you're just like seeing it, over time, the person can kind of get it, that everyone's on their own timetable as far as being able to share what really needs to be shared. But they'll kind of start getting it because there's a certain stream that people start going in, over time. Derry says, this exercise provides attentive listening, which I find really brings a friend or more together, providing a place to really listen to somebody rather than thinking about how you're going to answer. Helps to motivate myself and friends in a more positive way and not think negatively when talking to somebody that brings out positive. Oh, and are your books arranged in rainbow colors intentionally? Yes. Yes, they are. My wife and I share this office, and yeah, that's like a certain passion project of hers. I told her, like, she just recently rearranged that, and she showed me, and I said, I'm sure I'll get a lot of comments on that. Cindy quote, a Quaker quote: in the face of strong winds, may I be a blade of grass. In the face of strong walls, may I be a gust of wind. Philippe says, multi-sense nourishment is difficult in times of confinement. Meditation and grounding help. Yeah, that's the nourishment. Daryl says, for emotions, respond to them, not react to them. Require pause. Richard says, a healthy, balanced diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables and physical activity conducted in a mindful manner is so important for mood, the immune system, and our overall health. And we just notice that for ourselves when we engage that way. Wonderful, Asha. Anne said, I had a good piece of advice to try not to sit beyond 15 minutes with a negative emotion, because by that time you perhaps have learned all you're going that time. Maybe. I mean, we just kind of learned for ourselves. Could be. Karen says, sometimes it's okay to just realize that all this sucks and feel down rather than fighting negativity. But I would add to that, Karen, and recognize you're not alone in that. Right. And that all things come and go. It's always a for now thing. Debbie says, an emotion only lasts 30 to 60 seconds unless we give it all our energy and focus. Right. There's been some talk about that in other places too. Beautiful. So I just wanted to, end. I just want to respect everyone's time and to also end just with the invitation to you to consider who in your group of friends might be able to spend 20 minutes and do an exercise and do a practice like that with you. Who do you want to connect to? Who do you really want to connect to? And then invite them, to do that. And if you don't have someone like that, or you're like, I feel uncomfortable kind of doing like that, and you're not in the Mindful Living Collective already, then just come in. It doesn't cost you anything. Just come in. There's so much value in there. It's literally like an incubator for getting into a better place and finding the connections and the education and learning and support and encouragement. And then you pop out and you go into a life outside of that space, and then you can kind of bring that up-leveled sense of yourself into the rest of your life, and then you come back and get nourished and get teacup full, and then go back out and weave it in like that. It's just amazing. It's becoming just a beautiful space. Live sound baths and with musical entertainment coming up. I mean, it's beautiful. But you can find the circles in there every day. But if you don't, and that's not your jam, then see if you can find someone in your life to kind of play with that with. And then remember, another invitation to just kind of consider today how you're holding your body, because that can create more empowerment, also through this time. You just send those signals to your mind, and it can shift perception. It can shift mood and perception by changing your body. If you want to feel powerful, if you feel like, let's say you're working out and you want to feel strong, make the experience of strength, too. You can kind of get in your body and make an experience of strength. You can use your voice and make an empowered sound. That's also a physical thing to do. These are all things that can help you feel more empowered. But the epicenter of it is connection. The epicenter of it is connection. So again, thank you all so much. Again, we try and do these weekly. So, we'll see you again, but I'm Collective Daily, and I look forward to continuing to be with you all. How does in Collective bring an item like a stick or something work? Oh, okay. So in the mindful living circles, we draw on the kind of with the talking stick tradition and maybe the lineage of the Native Americans, but the talking stick was just like bring a meaningful object, with you, and that's how we go like this, and we decide. That's how we kind of shift turns from one person to the other. You kind of take the talking stick. And I think what I'm going to do, just so we're all clear on this, I think I'm going to lead a mindful living circle maybe next week as our session together, just for a larger group, and so you just can kind of experience that. But I think I'll lead it, with everyone here, and not over. It won't be over Facebook probably, but we'll send a link to probably Zoom, and we can all kind of do that together. It'll probably be limited in the amount of people that we can take in at one time, but that's an opportunity to do a mindful living circle with me, and so you can just kind of see what that's like, so you can have that experience. Okay, Richard. Yes. Now Hester in our Mindful Living Collective has posted some science. We have a topic on there in science and research, science around the power of virtual hugs. That came after we one time did a 300-person virtual hug, 350 people probably. And you really felt that. So I want you to do this. You can't see everyone, but I want you to imagine all, let's see, right now, 80 plus people here that are here right now around the world, coming to their cameras right now or with their phones or whatever. And I want you to imagine them all here, and I want you to come toward, if you're open to this, and just do a collective hug. And just see if you can feel all 80 people just softly and gently giving you just this warm, caring hug, including me. And then we'll release, and we'll end with that. Thank you for that reminder, Richard. I love that. I really feel it when we do that. It's so beautiful. Okay. We'll be together next time. Continue to comment, ask questions below, or just jump into the collective. We're always there. Okay. Bye for now.